The heir of the top wealthy family, Lu Lingche, is handsome, noble, cold, paranoid, and disdainful of women. Qiao Yin silently loved Lu Lingche for 5 years, giving up everything for him, thinking it could warm his cold heart, but 3 months after marriage, he would abandon her and marry someone else. What about disdaining women as agreed? I just looked down upon her. She left with a broken heart and started a new life. Her career was at its peak, and she became a leading figure in the industry. When she stood in front of him again, he was shocked beyond measure. Is it you who caused me huge losses? Qiao Yin smiled and said, Mr. Lu, it's a pleasure to meet you. Lu Lingche was dressed neatly during the day, cold and rational. However, in the quiet of the night, she lost control and hugged her tightly, saying, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Don't leave me. Mr. Lu, I already have a fiancé. He has been tied up to the rooftop now. Do you have 2 choices? He wants me dead or he wants me alive. Joan couldn't understand. It wasn't you who wanted to divorce back then. Where's your white moonlight? My white moonlight is you. Keywords of the novel. Mr. Lu, stop abusing me. Madam really doesn't want to treat men's health without a pop-up window. Mr. Lu, stop abusing me. Madam really doesn't want to treat men's health for you. Download the complete TXT collection. Mr. Lu, stop abusing me. Madam really doesn't want to treat men's health for you. Read the latest chapter on men's health. Chapter 1. Let's divorce. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Let's divorce. Tianjin City. The rainy night of May still carries a slight coolness, with the balcony windows open and a hint of cold rain blowing in. But Joey couldn't feel any coldness at all. She was embraced by Lu Lingche, and his scorching skin and gentle kiss made her somewhat addicted. Qiao Yin extended her fair and jade-like arm, wrapped it around his sturdy waist, and took the initiative to kiss back. Her initiative made Lu Lingche even hotter and uncontrollable. He came with a fierce force, even a bit impatient, very different from usual, and Joan couldn't resist it. The heat wave surged, causing ripples. After everything calmed down, Lu Lingche released her and went to the bathroom to take a shower. He had just gone for a while when his phone, which was placed by the bedside, rang. The bell rang time and time again, and Joan had to answer it for him. As soon as the phone was connected, a delicate female voice came from across. Lingche, have you told Joey about our matter? Joynton was there, with a momentary blank in his brain. She knows who the owner of this voice is. The white moonlight of Lu Lingche means blue. Lingche, it's thundering outside and I'm a bit scared. Can you come and accompany me? That's how you used to accompany me. Why didn't you come today, Lingche? Perhaps realizing that it wasn't Lu Lingche who was answering the phone, the woman across from her hurriedly hung up. Qiao Yin stiffly put Lu Lingche's phone back in place and lay back in bed. No wonder Lu Lingche didn't go home on a rainy day before. It turned out that he had gone to accompany the white moonlight. After a moment, Lu Lingche took a shower and came out. He had no intention of going to bed and continuing to sleep. Instead, he sat on the sofa beside him, completely different from the hot appearance he had just had in bed. He calmly called out to her, Joan. Joan lay there and responded, Let's get divorced. In the dim light, Joan's tears burst through the embankment, but her voice carried a hint of prepared calmness. Why? Pregnant, the child belongs to me. In just 10 words, it shattered all of Joan's psychological defenses. Originally, what Blue means by our business is this matter. Her heart felt as if someone had stabbed her hard with a knife, causing her to tremble with pain. When did it happen? February. She married Lu Lingche in March. Before getting married, the two were already together. Joey's hand tightly grasped the blanket, trying to suppress her crying and said, Isn't she your big brother's fiancée? Did you sleep with her shortly after your big brother passed away? Speaking of big brother, Lu Lingche's face showed emotion and his voice was cold. This is my business, don't mention my big brother again. Joey couldn't bear it anymore and sat up. Why can't you mention your big brother? You slept with your big brother's woman, do you deserve him? Or did you two carry him on your back while your big brother was alive? You dare to do it, but you dare not let me mention it. You shut up. It's not what you think, said Lu Lingche with a sharp gaze. What kind of thing is that? Your older brother passed away in January, and you slept with his fiancée AE in February. In March, he married me like nothing happened, and now he's saying divorce is divorce. Don't you think you're shameless? I said it's not what you think. Don't give me a hat. You say I'm shameless, but how good can you be? Don't think I don't know what you're plotting to marry me for. Join felt only sadness and heartache. What did I plot? You are plotting to use the Lu family's wealth to fill the Qiao family's hole. Is that how you think of me? Lu Lingche sneered, otherwise. You wouldn't tell me, did you fall in love with me? How could that be? You're right. I married you just because your Lu family has money. As for you, you don't have much to love yourself, just because your figure is suitable and you're just a tool to warm my bed. Background is fictional, story is fictional, please do not substitute it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Big Brother's Woman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Big Brother's Woman. Lu Lingche, a proud son of heaven, was said to be so worthless for the first time. Can only make do with warming the bed for women. He was furious and said, Joan, don't go too far. You are the one who goes too far, Lu Lingche. While sleeping with your big brother's fiancée AE, you pretended to marry me. Are you human? Do you still have a conscience? Do I have a conscience? It's not up to you, a gold digger, to point fingers and make mistakes. I am now your lawful wife. You cheated and had an illegitimate child, and I have the right to interfere with this matter. You're going to be different soon. I've already said, divorce. Amidst the noise, Lu Lingche's phone rang again. He glanced at the caller ID and instantly restrained his sharpness. Pressing the answer button, his voice was very soft, much gentler than when it came to treating Joey. Meaning, what's wrong? Okay, I'll go over now. After hanging up the phone, Lu Lingche left without looking back. Joey is the only one left in the room. She collapsed on the bed as if all her strength had been drained, crying out loud. The scent of Lu Lingche still lingered on the bed, and she was deeply attached, but couldn't hold on to it. Will he never see her, no matter how hard she tries to love him, no matter how hard she tries to learn to be a virtuous and gentle wife? He actually thinks she worships money. I think she is plotting against his family property. Qiao's company went bankrupt, did she ever beg him for a penny? When Lu Lingche braved the wind and rain and stepped into his elder brother's villa, Lan Yui was huddled on the sofa alone, covering her ears and trembling. Seeing him, Blue Language's eyes lit up and he said, Lingche, you've come to accompany me. It's great. With you here, I'm not afraid of the thunder outside. Lu Lingche nodded at her and covered her thin body with a blanket, saying, It's late. Go upstairs and go to bed. Lingche, won't you accompany me upstairs to sleep? I still feel scared when I sleep alone, said Lan with a soft and pitiful voice. Lu Lingche glanced at her for a long time before saying, I was too drunk that day and made a mistake. There won't be a second time. Lan Yui cried and said, but I don't mean anything else. I'm really scared. When your older brother was alive, he never let me sleep alone on thunderstorms. He was always with me, Lingche. Lu Lingche knew that her elder brother really doted on her before his death, and this was the woman that his elder brother loved the most. He clenched his fist and nodded, let's go upstairs. Lan Yui was happy and wiped away her tears as she stepped forward to grab Lu Lingche's hand. I knew Lingche was the best you treated me. Lu Lingche avoided her hand and only reminded her, be careful of the steps. Lan Yui grabbed the air and her face stiffened. She covered her stomach and said, Lingche, hold on to me, I'm afraid I might fall. Lu Lingche closed her eyes and stepped forward to support her arm. He really can't let Lan Yui get into trouble again, otherwise, not to mention Big Brother, he won't be able to forgive himself. Entering the bedroom, Lan Yui went to bed and slept, while Lu Lingche sat on the nearby sofa guarding her. In a daze, he spoke softly, meaning, did you notice who gave us the medicine in the wine that night? I didn't pay attention, I'm also a victim, Lingche. Blue's voice was filled with grievances. Can you forget about this matter in the future? I don't want to recall it anymore. I won't say it anymore, you go to sleep. Outside the window, a strong wind blew and heavy rain poured down. Thunder and lightning fell one after another, exploding like they were about to kill someone, as if someone had done something outrageous. Lu Lingche looked outside and silently said in his heart, Big Brother, I'm sorry, this was really just an accident. He opened his phone WeChat and his gaze remained on the last voice message that his older brother had sent him. He has heard this voice message so many times that he doesn't need to click on it now. His mind can still imagine the brother's intermittent voice. Lingche, I'm afraid I can't do it anymore. The only thing I can't rest assured of in this world is the meaning. I hope you can help me take care of her. Big Brother. Please. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Are you jealous? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Are you jealous? In the early morning, the heavy rain had stopped. Lu Lingche opened her eyes and glanced at Lan Yui, who was still asleep. She stood up from the sofa and walked out of the bedroom. After he instructed the servant to take care of Lan Yui, he was about to leave when a middle-aged woman walked in and stopped him. She is the mother of the blue language, Wenjunli. Mrs. Lan. Wenjunli's voice was gentle and she said, Lingche, Auntie hasn't seen you for several days. Aren't you hiding from me? There's nothing else, you've been overthinking. What's up with you? Oh, it's nothing, I just wanted to ask you when you plan to marry your daughter. She's already pregnant with your child, so this matter needs to be dealt with quickly. Is that person in your family willing to give way? If she doesn't want to, Auntie, I'll go out of my old face and kneel down to beg her. Do you think that's okay? She's willing, you don't have to go. Wen Zhenli couldn't help but exclaim, is she really willing? Have you already told her? Well, I really would. Wen Zhenli was extremely puzzled, how could Qiao Yin really be willing to divorce Lu Lingche? She couldn't believe it in her heart, but Lu Lingche didn't seem to be lying to her either. The Lu family is a top-tier aristocratic family, and the Xingling Group, built by the family, is a huge commercial empire with a market value of up to 900 billion yuan. As the youngest son of the Lu family, Lu Lingche is the most popular son.in.law, and many women dream of spending a good night with him. And after the unexpected death of the eldest son of the Lu family, Lu Lingche became the only heir of the Lu family. He replaced his elder brother last month and became the new president of the Xingling Group, taking over the entire commercial empire. If it weren't for Qiao Yin's grandmother saving the life of the old man of the Lu family, and the old lady wanting to repay her kindness and insist on her grandson marrying Qiao Yin, with her being a wild girl from a bankrupt family, she could also marry into the Lu family. Hee, it's good if you're willing. When are you planning to have a wedding with Yui? It's not that Aunt is impatient, but Yui's child can't wait. I think you don't want your child to be nameless, do you? Lu Lingche felt inexplicably annoyed and said, I will do it as soon as possible. Auntie, go upstairs and take a look at the meaning. Our company has something else to attend to, so let's leave first. Joey stayed up all night and felt very uncomfortable in the morning. She had been feeling nauseous, vomiting in the bathroom until her bile was about to come out. As he was spitting out, a voice suddenly rang in his ear. What's wrong with you? Are you feeling sick? Qiao Yin turned her head and saw that Lu Lingche didn't know when she had returned. He has changed into a new outfit, appearing both noble and handsome. Joan rinsed her mouth and answered him casually, maybe I ate something bad last night. I slept pretty well and didn't get angry. Why do you talk about my illness? Why are your eyes swollen, not crying? Qiao Yin hesitated and immediately said, I had a dream that the person I used to secretly love was going to marry someone else. It wasn't because of you that I cried for him. Lu Lingche's face darkened and he said, do you still have someone you secretly love? Yeah, can you only have a white moonlight like blue, and I'm not allowed to have someone I secretly love. What's wrong, you're jealous. Thinking too much. Of course, Joan knew she was overthinking, so she took the initiative to shift the topic and said, I'm not feeling well. Can you make breakfast today? Lu Lingche felt incredulous and said, are you bossing me around? Are you not awake, are you? Are you still dreaming and being foolish? Lu Lingche, do you have a conscience? You don't like having outsiders at home, and servants only come to clean at regular times and locations. For the past 3 months, I have been cooking for you. If I ask you to make breakfast now, you will break your guard. Lu Lingche frowned and looked at Qiao Yin, feeling as if she was a bit different. Before, she was quiet and obedient like a kitten, and he wouldn't resist even when he rubbed and bullied her. But now it's like a hedgehog, if you make her unhappy, she'll stab you. He remained silent for a long time, but ultimately went to the kitchen and made breakfast. I've known him for 5 years, and it's the first time Joey knows he can cook, and the taste is also good. It seems that she doesn't actually know him very well. The eerie silence at home was shattered by the arrival of Mrs. Lu. Madame Lu, dressed in luxurious attire, immediately sat in the main seat of the living room with a tone of superiority. Qiao Yin, how is your Qiao family's case? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Strike Back. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Strike Back. Joey used to be a bit afraid of this mother-in-law, but now that she's about to get divorced, what else is there to be afraid of? She said calmly, we are still in the trial of an economic dispute case, which will take a longer time, but my dad will handle it well. Mrs. Lu looked disdainfully at her and said, your family only owes tens of millions. Can't you repay it? You don't have any family background at all. If we keep dragging on like this, you and your father will become deadbeats. Your reputation is not very good. Joy knew that she had always looked down on her daughter-in-law and liked to talk with a stick in her hand. She used to be patient, but now there was no need to compromise. She felt inexplicably relieved in her heart. Madame Lu, please rest assured that there is still some money in the family. My father will definitely repay the money and won't be a scoundrel. It's only a few tens of millions, isn't it? Mrs. Lu sneered and said, you really know how to talk big, and you're not afraid of flashing your tongue. Your dad went to the Lu family early this morning to borrow money from me. He opened his mouth and asked for 80 million yuan, with a runny nose and tears. He almost knelt down for me. What kind of aloofness are you pretending to be here? What kind of tycoon are you pretending to be? Dad went to borrow money. The blood on Joan's face suddenly faded completely. Madame Lu saw her face suddenly change and her aura grew even stronger. What's wrong, you're not talking too hard anymore. You also need to have the capital to pretend to be aloof. You don't have anything. If you pretend hard, you will only be struck by lightning. Our Lu family can't afford a shameless wife like you. You are not worthy of us, Lingche. If it weren't for your grandmother saving the old lady, you wouldn't have been able to marry into the Lu family after practicing for a few more lifetimes. The Lu family had already thanked your grandmother a long time ago. We don't owe you anything. I allowed you to enter purely to show filial piety to the old lady, but your Qiao family's heart is not strong enough to swallow snakes and elephants. They still want to pull the Lu family to fill a hole for you, which is 80 million yuan. I dare not take such a shameless and unjust in-laws. Quickly pack up your things and leave. As Qiao Yin listened to her words, they became more and more unpleasant. She spoke coldly, Madame Lu is rushing me to leave. She actually wants me to make way for your future daughter.in-law, right? After all, her stomach can't wait too long. Mrs. Lu's face changed and she said, "What are you talking nonsense about?" Joan retaliated, "Did I talk nonsense? You know better than me, pretending not to know. Hard pretending will only lead to lightning strikes." Madame Lu stood up abruptly and said, "You." Lu Lingche, who had not spoken for a long time, suddenly spoke up and scolded, "Qiao Yin, please speak with respect. This is my mother." Joan turned her head to look at him, saying that neither disappointment nor sadness were true. This is the man she has secretly admired for so long, he doesn't care about her at all, and her heart is shattered. But she knew these emotions could never be on her face. "Yes, this is your mother, not my mother. I just gave her back what she said, which is disrespectful." "Why did she say that?" "You mother and son are too domineering, can you only bully me? I owe you all." Before, no matter how much injustice Qiao Yin suffered, she wouldn't talk to Mrs. Lu like this. She cared too much about Lu Lingche. But now, she no longer needs to be humble. Mrs. Lu was furious and said, "You're so good, Qiao Yin. You used to pretend to be good, but now you're showing your true face. I'm your mother.in-law, I'm your elder. That's how you talk to elders. You have no manners at all. You won't be my mother.in-law soon." Qiao Yin refused to back down at all. "To suppress me as an elder, I also need to have the appearance of being an elder, and I need to sit upright to be convincing. The good son taught by Mr. Lu, who married me and even had an illegitimate child with a woman outside, is the funniest of all. This woman is still his eldest brother's fiancée A.E. Not long after his eldest brother passed away, the two of them have been together, and now they have to betray their first wife and marry their lover, which is simply heartless and unjust. You Lu family, it turns out that this kind of crooked family tradition, disregarding ethics and morals, such a family, what if they have money? I dare not stay any longer." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Why do I get divorced? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Why do I get divorced? You. Okay, you sharp-mouthed thing. Mrs. Lu's face turned red and white, and she angrily covered her head and sat back, saying, "My blood pressure. Lingche, get me some medicine quickly." Lu Lingche brought her medicine and water, served her to eat, and then looked at Qiao Yin with a heavy gaze. "Are you trying to anger my mother to death? Qiao Yin, the Lu family treats you well, don't go too far." Qiao Yin only felt sarcastic. "You treat me unfairly. What did the Lu family give me? After getting married for 3 months, wasn't it that I have been giving up unilaterally? I gave up my job to take care of your daily life and help you take care of everything. How did you treat me? Who is it that is being unreasonable? I didn't ask you to give up your work. It's because you're lazy and don't want to go out to work. Don't pour dirty water on me. I'm lazy. I already had a bright future, Lu Lingche. It was your mother who forbade me from going out to work. The promised virtuous wife will help her husband and children at home." Mrs. Lu looked disgusted and said, "I told you not to go out to work, so you really don't go out to work. How come I didn't see that you were so obedient? You clearly wanted to enjoy the luxurious life of the Lu family's daughter.in-law at home, and you said so grandly. You have such thick skin." She took her son's hand and said with heartache, "Lingche, hurry up and leave. It's all the fault of this kind of woman. It's the old lady who insists that you marry her. I didn't agree with her back then. Those from small families can't stand the stage and don't deserve you. I've wronged you, my son. Qiao Yin's inner fire grew stronger and stronger, causing her to feel pain in her heart. Mrs. Lu seems to have forgotten that divorce is a matter of two people. You don't think that Lu Lingche is going to divorce, should I cooperate obediently? What do you mean? Are you unwilling to divorce? Why did I get divorced? Didn't you tell me? I really enjoy the luxurious life of the Lu family's daughter. Law. Qiao Yin, you won't be able to enjoy everything from the Lu family in the future, including this villa. Don't even think about staying there for a day. Sure, but in this way, I will expose the news of my marriage to Lu Lingche to the media. By the way, I will also reveal to the reporter that he had an affair during his marriage, and his partner was still the fiancée of his deceased brother. He was pregnant with an illegitimate child, which is hard evidence. Mrs. Lu thinks that if this news is not strong enough, how much face will the Lu family lose? How much will the stock price of Xingling Group drop? Mrs. Lu was both shocked and angry. Lingche, did you hear her? She is really malicious. She wants to destroy you and our Lu family. You have married a snake and scorpion woman back, and her previous gentleness and tranquility were all pretentious. I'm afraid the old lady was also deceived by her beautiful appearance. Lu Lingche was also surprised. Qiao Yin had never said anything like this before. She had always been quiet and obedient, with a good temper like a dummy. Now it's like a different person, and she even threatens them. He spoke coldly, Joan, what exactly do you want? Just say it, don't beat around the bush. Qiao Yin looked at his handsome and indifferent face, and her heart was dripping with blood as she spoke. Breakup fee, I want 1 billion. What? Lu Fu's popular eyes turned black and he said, 1 billion. Why don't you go grab it? Our Lu family doesn't lack this 1 billion, but don't you look in the mirror and see if you're worth 1 billion. I don't know if I'm worth 1 billion, but Lan Yui and the child in her belly are definitely worth it. I want 1 billion, not even a penny less. You're dreaming. Don't want to pay, still want a divorce. You're also dreaming. Joan, you. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Scolding from the Father. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Scolding from the Father. The negotiations have reached a deadlock. Lu Lingche knew it was pointless to continue, so he helped Mrs. Landing up and said, Mom, I will handle the divorce matter. You don't need to worry, go home first and pay more attention to your health. Mrs. Lu glared at Qiao Yin with hatred and turned around to leave. Lu Lingche looked at Qiao Yin and spoke coldly, you shouldn't talk to my mother like that. You're going too far. Qiao Yin's eyes had turned red uncontrollably and she said, Lu Lingche, you shouldn't have treated me this way. You married me, made other women pregnant with your child, and then kicked me away. You're going too far. Lu Lingche rarely refuted her, but remained silent. Because he knew in his heart that this matter was indeed his fault. I will compensate you for the divorce, but it's impossible to get 1 billion. Please consider it for a few days and give me a reasonable number. After he finished speaking, he also left. In the luxurious villa, Joan was left alone in an instant. She tugged at the corner of her lips, revealing a tearful smile and said, Why are you so angry? You're making it seem like I'm the owner of the villa. After muttering, she lowered her head and glanced at her trembling hand, her strong disguise disappearing from her face. The calmness just now was actually just a pretense. Arguing, she wasn't good at it, but it made her anxious, and even rabbits can bite people. Lu Lingche has caused such a ridiculous thing, and Mrs. Lu is willing to come and humiliate her. How could she continue to be slaughtered? After a while, Joey took out her phone and called her father Qiao Haidong. Dad, did you go to the Lu family to borrow money? Yeah, what's wrong? How much do you borrow from them? 80 million. Isn't your debt 40 million? What are you borrowing so much for? Qiao Haidong spoke in a natural tone, the Lu family is not short of money. Since I have spoken up, I definitely need to borrow more. After the debt is repaid, don't we still need funds to start the company again? Joy's blood surged as she listened, almost infuriated by him. Didn't I say we shouldn't borrow money from the Lu family? We owe money and we'll figure out our own way. What are you begging them for? Qiao Haidong was also angry and felt that his daughter was too immature. Our family is already at the end of our lives, and debt collectors come to our house every day to make trouble. It's almost driving me to death. What's wrong with me borrowing money from the Lu family? The Lu family is in law, so it's not appropriate to help me. I asked you to help me borrow money from the Lu family before, but you kept pushing and blocking me. Now, whether I borrow from you or block me, it's as noble as you. The company still wants it or not. Can I still live? Be honest with me, did you behave poorly at the Lu family and make your mother-in-law angry? Otherwise, why would Mrs. Lu be so indifferent to me after I went and speak in a sarcastic manner that I couldn't stand it? Joey didn't expect her father to just blame her. She took a deep breath and didn't want to argue with her father anymore. It's nothing to do with me. Even if I behave well, they won't look up to me. Mrs. Lu didn't just ignore you today. There's a problem with Lu Lingche, and I'm ready to divorce him. Don't go to the Lu family again in the future, let alone borrow money. Divorce. Qiao Haidong's decibel was raised twice. Are you crazy? What are you fooling around about? No divorce allowed. You finally made it to the big tree of the Lu family, and you must not give up. You serve Lu Lingche honestly and show filial piety to your father-in-law and mother-in-law, do you hear me? Joan's emotions finally broke down. She was too sad in her heart and her voice became choked up. Dad, don't you even ask me why I got divorced. What's the point of asking? At most, it's just that Lingche has women outside. He's a wealthy young master, isn't it normal to have women outside? Don't act recklessly. I'll tell you, just turn a blind eye to this kind of thing. Men don't have much to play with outside, they're just good husbands when they come home. The Lu family, as a big family, still needs face. If you suffer a bit now, they will definitely not treat you unfairly in the future. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Family. Joey couldn't bear to listen anymore and couldn't help but raise her voice. Dad, who is your daughter? You don't scold him and still find me stubborn. I'm not just fooling around, I'm very rational to divorce him. He cheated, and I won't have sex with him anymore. Qiao Haidong became anxious and said, I don't agree. You have to deal with him whether he cheated or not, and I have to continue borrowing money from the Lu family. The Lu family didn't let go today, and Mrs. Lu means we can talk again next time. If you get divorced, I won't be able to borrow this money. If I can't borrow money, I won't be able to pay off my debts, and the court will sentence me to prison. Can you bear to see me go to jail? So you pushed me into the fire pit just to borrow money. You went to borrow money, do you know how Mrs. Lu humiliated me today? She can't even lend you, she's playing with you. What does it mean to push you into the fire pit? How many women in a wealthy family like the Lu family are trying to get married? You live a lavish life in the Lu family, and what kind of food and clothing are not the best? You should be grateful to be able to marry into the Lu family. Not everyone has such luck. Qiao Yin gritted her teeth and said, whoever wants this blessing, I don't want it. I haven't spent a penny on the Lu family, and Lu Lingche hasn't given me any household expenses. Spending money like dirt is just your imagination. My imagination doesn't matter, what matters is that you are the daughter-in-law of the Lu family. Yin, you are obedient and can be considered a father begging you. Don't make any fuss about divorce. If you say you are really divorced, who will marry you again? Who will still want you? Instead of divorcing, it's better to have a son for Lu Lingche as soon as possible. Someone is already rushing to give birth to a son for Lu Lingche, so she doesn't need to put in this effort. Qiao Yin felt like she had been in cold water for a long time before she asked, so if I divorce, can I ask the Lu family for a large amount of compensation to help you pay off your debt? How much compensation can you expect from this? Qiao Yin suddenly smiled, tears streaming down her face as she said, you really only care about money. Don't talk cold words, I have loved you so much since you were young. Buy whatever you want, and when have you been wronged? I worked hard to earn money for what? It's not for you. No, I still don't agree with your divorce. How much compensation can I get? How about living with Lu Lingche? I'm afraid we won't have enough money in the future. By the way, your younger brother needs money to go to school, with a tuition fee of 500,000 yuan and other living expenses, which are also about 500,000 yuan. Can you please transfer 1 million yuan to me first? Joey paused and said, you said last month that your family needed living expenses, and you already had to leave all my money. Now you even want me to support your younger brother. Qiao Haidong was displeased and said, I didn't let you take care of it, I just asked you to pay a little money. Why are you so calculating? Your younger brother will grow up in the future, and he will also be your reliance. Don't be short-sighted and unwilling to give it all. Why didn't I pay? I gave you all the money, there's no more money left. Do you think I believe this? Do you think your younger brother was born to your Aunt Jiang, so you refuse to help? I tell you, no matter who gave birth, he is my son, your own younger brother. As a sister, you cannot watch him drop out of school because he cannot afford the tuition fee. The tuition fees for international schools are too high, and the current situation at home cannot support such high expenses. Can't you just replace it with a regular school? I also attend a public high school, isn't it also very good? That's not possible. Your younger brother is a boy, and he must attend the best school in order to receive the best education and make friends at the highest level. I put a lot of effort into sending him to this school, and he must not drop out midway. Please give me money quickly. If you don't have money, ask Lu Lingche for it. 1 million is just a small sum for him. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The meaning of white moonlight and blue language. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The meaning of white moonlight and blue language. Joan's angry face turned white and she said, I've already said I'm going to divorce him. Why do you still want me to ask him for money? Okay, if you don't ask him for it, I'll go borrow money from the Lu family. I'll kneel down for Mrs. Lu this time, and I won't believe in borrowing it. If you don't want me to embarrass you, find a way to solve your brother's tuition and living expenses. After Qiao Haidong finished speaking, he hung up the phone. She held her phone and stared blankly out the window. She really doesn't have any money anymore. The bankruptcy of the Qiao family is not something that happens in a day or two. The money has already been taken away by her father. My stomach was a bit swollen, and the feeling of nausea and vomiting when I woke up came back. I probably ate too much in the morning. She forced herself to eat more breakfast in order to pretend nothing had happened in front of Lu Lingche. After drinking a glass of water and suppressing the feeling of nausea, Joan dialed the phone number of the previous company owner. As soon as the phone was connected, a surprised voice came from across. Joan, you finally called me. So, have you considered it? Are you willing to come back to work? Mr. Yen, I am willing to go back to work. Thank you for not giving up on me. You have strong abilities, so of course I would like you to come back to work. Otherwise, who will solve my problems for me? You are someone who can chew on hard bones, and I cherish talent. That's settled. I'll return to the company tomorrow. Hanging up the phone, Joey breathed a sigh of relief. The boss had asked her to go back to work before, but she refused. Now, the boss is still willing to accept her, and she feels grateful. Finally, there is something going smoothly. Joey is an action-oriented person, and once she decides to go back to work, she will take it seriously. She went upstairs and started packing her clothes, preparing to move out. She also had a small house, which was very close to the company. The villa here was too far away from the company, making it inconvenient to commute. Mrs. Lu doesn't allow her to live in this villa, and she doesn't actually want to continue living here. Otherwise, meeting Lu Lingche every day would be a torture for her. At noon, Joey dragged her suitcase downstairs when the door to the living room was suddenly pushed open. Blue language means wearing a light pink loose dress, flat white shoes, black hair and light makeup. The whole person appears delicate and delicate. The dress design is very clever, just covering up her slightly bulging belly. She doesn't look like a pregnant woman, but rather like a new college student entering the campus. Joan was taken aback. What is she doing here? Lan Yui showed her a soft smile and her voice was also soft. Miss Qiao, why are you dragging a suitcase? Where are you going? Miss Lan doesn't know the reason, does she? Why are you still asking me? Qiao Yin's voice was a bit faint. Lan Yui immediately lowered her head, with a guilty expression on her face. She stuttered and said, I'm sorry, Miss Qiao. I don't know how things turned out like this. You don't need to move out. Let's continue living here. Although it's a bit difficult to talk about, I still want to explain to you that this matter is actually a misunderstanding. It was Lingche who got drunk that day, and I rejected him. But as you know, there is a huge difference in strength between men and women, and I can't do anything about it. I really didn't mean to destroy you, but I'm pregnant with a child. Anyway, he's a small life, and I can't cruelly erase him. Lingche insists on keeping the child, even Mrs. Lu. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, it's all my fault. You can scold me. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Vomited. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Vomited. Qiao Yin looked at the blue language in front of her, feeling helpless like a little girl who had done something wrong, with a face full of shame, and for a moment lost her ability to organize language. She even understood why Lu Lingche had always secretly liked his older brother's woman, and why the blue language had become an untouchable white moonlight for him. Her pitiful expression is probably irresistible to no man. Joyan felt a knife-like pain in her heart, and it wasn't until Lan Yui stood in front of her that she realized she had truly suffered a disastrous defeat. Because she had unintentionally imitated the softness and obedience of blue language. In order to gain the love of Lu Lingche, she humbly gave up her personality in dreams, quietly changing under his white moonlight. She's really stupid. Can white moonlight be imitated? She should be herself. The tumultuous feeling in her stomach surged up again, and Joan couldn't help but press it. Lan asked her with concern, Miss Qiao, are you feeling unwell? Your complexion is so bad, I'll help you sit down. Come here, this way. She was pregnant, and Joey didn't let her help her. She sat down on the sofa and said, I'm fine, Miss Lan. You've already apologized and can leave now. Blue language means delicate and weak. But you didn't say to forgive me, I can't leave. Besides, you seem to be sick. Lingche is really too careless. He didn't even notice you were sick. How are you doing when I take care of him? Please don't be angry with him. Qiao Yin dared not let a delicate pregnant woman take care of her and said, no need, I'm really fine. Just take a break. Lu Lingche should have gone to the company. You can go find him. Lan Yui still refused to leave, biting her lips and saying, this is my first time coming to your house. Don't you invite me to sit down and have a cup of tea. Are you still blaming me in your heart? Qiao Yin stood up and said, the tea is in the cabinet. What do you want to drink? Make it yourself, I'll leave first. Miss Qiao, if you refuse to invite me to tea, it means you won't forgive me. If you don't forgive me, I won't let you leave today. I will take good care of you and make amends, said Lon, stubbornly blocking her from leaving. Joey was exhausted in her heart and didn't want to keep pestering her. You won't stop me after drinking tea. If you treat me to tea, I will definitely not stop you again. Joey turned around and went to the kitchen to boil water and brew tea. After the tea was brewed and brought to the blue language pasta, she took a sip and then vomited again. She apologized repeatedly, I'm sorry, Miss Qiao, I didn't mean to vomit. This tea is so hot and hot, I. The freshly brewed tea is naturally very hot, it's not your fault. Halfway through the conversation, Joan's face suddenly changed, and the morning's pent-up feeling finally erupted. She, suddenly vomited. A blue cry immediately rang out in the living room, ah. Joan fixed her gaze and saw that her once brand new and beautiful dress was already covered in her vomit. She had a foul odor emanating from her body. Joan herself felt very scared, and she couldn't help but retch twice. Blue language scared and kept retreating. Qiao Yin quickly apologized and said, I'm sorry, Miss Lon. I did feel a bit uncomfortable today. I didn't mean to. Let me help you wipe it off. Lon Yui burst into tears, ignoring Joan and running away with a white face. Joey sighed, turned around and went to the bathroom to wash up, then came out to clean the living room before dragging her suitcase out. She drove back to her own house. This house was left to her by her mother. Although it was an old house, it was decorated warmly and beautifully by her, making it the best harbor for her to heal her wounds. Of course, she hasn't lived for 3 months, so she needs to do a good cleaning. Not long after being busy, my phone rang. She pressed the answer button, and Lu Lingche's angry voice came from her phone. Qiao Yin, why do you want to use language meaning? Joey was a bit confused and said, what? The meaning has miscarried. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. I don't like you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. I don't like you, I didn't harm her, it wasn't me, said Joey, feeling a little flustered, not you. Did you brew tea for her to drink? Yes, but I. Lu Lingche coldly interrupted her, the meaning is not to drink tea. She is allergic to tea polyphenol, and drinking tea is fatal to her. Joan was surprised and explained urgently, I didn't know she was allergic, she wanted to drink it herself. And she just took a sip and then vomited it out. So what do you say if you vomit all over her? She's pregnant and can't bear too much stimulation. If you do this, she will die twice. Joan, you're too cruel. I didn't mean to, I've been feeling a bit nauseous and uncomfortable this morning, as you can see. I wasn't trying to stimulate her, I really couldn't resist vomiting. Lu Lingche's voice was even colder than when she left in the morning. Joan, divorce is my decision. If you have any dissatisfaction, come to me. The meaning is innocent, please don't touch her. There is probably nothing in this world that can kill people's hearts more than these words. At this moment, Joan felt like she had been splashed with icy water in the middle of winter, stiff and cold. Why did she fall in love with such a man? Even for his sake, he willingly gave up everything he had, silently washing and cooking for him at home, and cooperating with his needs to relieve his body. If he loves Blue so deeply, why marry her back home and drag her into the abyss? After a while, Joan finally regained her voice, and the panic she had just experienced completely disappeared. She regained her composure and said, what does divorce mean? It's your decision, it's also my decision. Do you think I don't want a divorce? That's why I want to have a miscarriage. Mr. Lu, you've thought too much. I don't like you and I'm willing to help you and Miss Lon, let alone intentionally harm her, because I really have no motivation. On the contrary, only when Miss Lon is pregnant with your child can I have enough leverage from you to have the confidence to demand the billion-yuan divorce compensation. If she miscarries, and if you don't marry her, wouldn't I not be able to get the money? I am the person who least wants Miss Lon to miscarry. On the other end of the phone, Lu Lingche seemed to have never expected her to say that, and she didn't speak for a long time. If it's okay, just hang up. When you're willing to give up 1 billion, just tell me and we'll go through the divorce process, said Join, shedding tears. I've said before, 1 billion is impossible, don't even think about it. Why, in Mr. Lu's heart, your beloved white moonlight is not worth 1 billion. Lu Lingche wanted to say that the meaning of blue language was not his white moonlight, but he felt that there was no need to explain it to Qiao Yin. He didn't like her talking like that, so his tone was particularly harsh and cold this time. Of course she's worth 1 billion, it's you who's not worth it. You're not worth a penny, I won't give you a penny for divorce. If you want to take money from me to fill the hole in the Qiao family, unless you kneel down and beg me. After listening, Join's tears grew even more urgent and dense. She was glad that she was on the phone at the moment, and Lu Lingche couldn't see her embarrassed yet assertive appearance. It's okay, you don't have to give me money, so I won't divorce. I just don't know if I can wait. There was another silence on the phone. It is obvious that Lu Lingche is very angry with her and is adjusting her emotions. He was originally an emotionally stable person, but since last night, he has been repeatedly angered by Join to the point of emotional breakdown. For a long time, his voice was heard again on his phone. Come to the hospital, apologize in person, and sign the divorce agreement. End of this chapter.